deserts, the scream from the slums, the Mississippi rolling to the beat of the drums. They wanna hear some American music. American music. They wanna hear that sound right from the USA. We got the Louisiana boogie and the Delta blues. We got country swing and rockabilly too. We got jazz, country, western, and Chicago blues. It's the greatest music that you ever knew. It's American music. It's American music. It's American music. It's the crazy sound right from the USA.
Hello, we're live. Happy 4th of July, everyone. I've got a whole lot of videos, CDs, and some really frightening 4th of July albums to go through. So, hope everyone's having a happy 4th and staying safe. I finally got a haircut. Yay! But I kept the beard. I'm quite fond of it. Alrighty, we're going to look through some standard 4th of July fare you might consider for a video first. So, Yankee Doodle Dandy, always on TV somewhere. A classic. Got a lot of dancing, a lot of singing, and a lot of New York accents. Yeah. Newt Rockney, all American. Can't be more American than Ronald Reagan playing football. Let's see what else we got here. Stage Door Canteen and Private Buckaroos. Actually, those are actually in public domain, so you can pick those up from time to time, quite often. This gets Christmas and 4th of July, but I picked it up only because it's an odd one I picked up recently, because it's the Korean version, I believe. So it's kind of off the 4th of July. I remember going and seeing this in grade school as a revival, of course, because I'm young. Andy Griffith, No Time for Sergeants, a nice 4th of July film. And one I think, I don't know if I've actually seen, I'm going to have to watch, is Onion Head, which was on the same vein and had quite a few people of the same cast. Two interesting things here I'll pull out. Looney Tunes did their Golden Collections, but Volume 6, a whole lot of it, almost all of it actually, was Looney Tunes. They're going, helping with the war effort, mostly World War II. A lot of them are not arable today. A lot of racist and stereotype things, but you know, when you're trying to show the enemy, that's what you do. Back into Jimmy Cagney actually did a follow-up to West Point Story, which was also a film similar to Yankee Doodle Dandy. And between Disney also did a whole one on the front lines. This is a nice, interesting collection. There's some commentary on some of these as well, which has some historical perspective. I know a lot of the well-known animators at the time worked on that. This is a nice collection from people at AV Geeks and a couple of other collections. It's all the films they used to show us in school about patriotism. There's one, and some of them nuclear survival. That's kind of a whole nother thing we'll have to do sometime. Deposition, Great Rights, Day of Thanksgiving. Some interesting stuff on that one. Of course, there's Schoolhouse Rock. Can't go wrong without Schoolhouse Rock. It's a nice DVD collection and always fun. Let's see. And then the last two DVDs I got here are Red, White, and Blue, The Ed Sullivan Show. Most of Not all, but most of the performances listed on here were from the mid 60s, and they're pretty much spend a lot of time talking bad about those hippies. uh, uh, America, love it or leave it. And, when you have Roy Rogers telling you you need to change your ways, you're in trouble. Also, another interesting compilation here is this was a TV special that John Wayne got Anheuser-Busch to pay for in the mid 70s, and it was kind of interesting, and put together as a quickie. There's a nope, Bing Crosby on here, Dean Martin, Phyllis Diller, and many others playing American figures. Hoss from Bonanza is playing an American Indian, not convincingly, I might add. All right, so that's some vinyl you might look at. I'm gonna run through some CDs as well. CDs aren't the most interesting. When we get to the vinyl, that's when we're gonna have some good fun. But here's the Schoolhouse Rock CD collection. Really nice music collection, and actually well done from the time, and holds up very well today. A lot of these are just simple classical compilations. Leonard Slacken with the St. Louis Symphony. It's a nice classical collection with a lot of musical stuff, patriotic musical stuff. Here's a special commemorative CD collection. It's actually on a cheap label that has a bunch of music from the time of D-Day, and the True Glory DVD comes with it. On the bed, I'm actually playing a compilation I made around 2006. There's the CD of it. Of just rock bands and some miscellaneous odd stuff about America. Kind of showing my dark humor. Of those of you who know about my Christmas CDs will understand that as well. American Piano Classics. Again, more classical. This one's a nice collection from Sandy Hook Records, which they did a lot of old radio shows as well. The Rosie the Riveter collection, as Rosie the Riveter has some commercials from the time. A lot of songs from that time about fighting the war, and actually some commercials for war bonds and such. Let's see here. Just some local press guy who decided to record some music, patriotic music. Sing America, American Treasures. It was actually like a mid-90s. Peter, Paul, Mary, Linda Ronstadt. A lot of your standard middle-of-the-road singers. Christmas in July is coming, believe me, Amy. That's going to be several days. Gary McFarlane, America the Beautiful, an account of its disappearance. Don't know this guy's whole story, but this came out in '88, and it's listed as jazz, but he was not happy with the way America was going in '88. We wonder what he'd be thinking today. Let's see. 80 miles an hour through beer can country is one of the movements on here. Suburbia, 2 poodles and a plastic Jesus. If I'm elected, less rights for the promised land. And due to lack of interest, tomorrow has been canceled. This actually came out for the year 2000. And it was 20th century time capsule, and it was actually done pretty well. A lot of weird little sound bites put together along with some music. Interesting listen. Stars and Stripes Forever. This is actually just a nice classical collection as well. Let's see. God Bless America. Mostly country artists, a few R&B, but your standard America collection. Everyone should have one, or 12 like I do. Uh, Douglas Jimerson tenor. This was actually semi-local. It was distributed by Blue Sky when I worked at Streetside, and they're doing a lot of your basic America songs on here. Let's see. America Salute to the Birth of a Nation. A lot of classical pieces on that one. Pretty nice collection there, actually. Let's see. This is actually timely. I picked this up somewhere for a little price, but the Smithsonian Folkways, which is actually has some amazing music, and you can stream most of it live on their website if you're ever interested in listening to that. A lot of field recordings, a lot of historical recordings, speeches. But this is actually songs of freedom, songs of the civil rights movement. Like I said, and they're archived, and they are do great care with their recordings. Let's see. And this is some Vanity Project CD, which I enjoy those sort of things. Janet Kessler, Patriotic Songs. It did her own recordings there. There we are there, and she recorded a lot of them there. This one I bought at Streetside long ago, and I wish I'd have bought it more because it's to give to people because it's pretty amazing actually. Threads of Glory, 200 Years in America. It's actually put out by Decca, and there's 4 volumes and a booklet, but it's actually a nice audio history of America, and it had a lot of amazing actors and people doing some things, but to kind of tell the story with some music involved. But it's a pretty interesting listen if you ever have the time. Like I said, it's over 3 hours of recorded things. Fred McMurray's on here, Jonathan Winter, Forrest Tucker, Hugh O'Brien, John Forsythe, Richard Carlson, Cesar Romero, Roscoe Lee Brown, Susan Oliver. Again, it's an artifact from the 70s, from the bicentennial, but it is pretty interesting. Last 2 CDs, and then we'll get into the vinyl, which is going to have some weird stuff there. First one this is a Bear Family Records. It's actually a really nice collection. Remastered of Fess Parker's Great American Hero recordings. Can't go wrong with Fess Parker anytime. The final one, and I have the vinyl somewhere. Actually one of the few vinyls I didn't find for this, but I've put the reissued, digitally remastered CD. John Wayne's album, America, Why I Love Her. And just brings tears to your eyes right away. Not a lot of singing, a lot more reading and talking about being a good American. Alright, we're going to get into the vinyl. And I didn't pull as many CDs as I could have. There's all kinds of artists that have done Johnny Cash has done a couple of really nice America albums, but first we'll do a few soundtracks. Not all of them are directly America. George M. Cohan, who actually wrote Yankee Doodle Dandy and a lot of other music from that time period. And there's a nice collection of his stuff. A couple albums just because it has America on the cover. More American Graffiti. Got a lot of 60s music on that one. I said it's going to get scary here shortly, so hang in there. The original American Graffiti soundtrack, that's actually a really nice one. Let's see. American Hot Wax. It's not really 4th of July, but it says America on the album cover, and actually this album had Jay Leno in it. Let's see here. Freedom Rock. Gotta have the Freedom Rock collection on 4th of July. Yeah, a lot of 60s stuff here, and later on I'll pull up the commercial and add it on the comments here. Let's see here. Soundtrack to Patton, another classic right there. I think, oh, nice thing about this even has Patton's speech at the beginning. So that'll get you motivated for the day when you go out to blow up your fireworks. Soundtrack to The Longest Day. I know there were a couple times my grandfather watched this film and it seemed like a long day when I was young because I'd go in and out of the house for hours and it'd still be on. Good Morning Vietnam. And this actually has some sound bites of Robin Williams doing his DJ bit. Let's see. Platoon. That'll bring you down on the 4th of July, but a great film. One of my favorite weird films of all time. I even went to see it in the theater. Americathon. Whole premise of the film is America is bankrupt, and they do a big telethon to raise enough money to pay off our debt so that we don't default to China. It has Harvey Korman and a lot of other people. It's not all of it holds up, but it's a pretty fun film if you ever look for something odd to watch. Two more Davy Crockett albums. There's the Happy Time Records Davy Crockett. And there's two stories of Davy Crockett from the Walt Disney series. With Fess Parker and Buddy Epson in there, no less. This, just a scary album. Ronald McDonald Visits America. Everyone should be hanging out with Ron and traveling America. So list all the states. And this kind of has a cult status. They actually, in the 90s, finally did volume 2 of this. This album was hard to find for years, but school teachers did this. If you know much about Stan Freberg, he was a great writer and satirist, and he made learning history fun, and teachers would use this while, like middle school mostly. And they did well with that. Don't know much about this one, but it is Any Place America, songs that tell children what goes on any place USA. It was written as like a tutorial book. It's got some music, got some activities. So it was written for youth development. And even has a place you could order them. I'm not sure you can still order them from San Diego, California. All right. Now we're going in deep. Freedom Bell from Materna 1.6. I do not know what Materna tablets are, but I think they're a volume. I'm going to have to check them out. The Turning Point in Parental Care is what it says. Freedom Bell salutes American women with the great musical interpretations of America on the March. So there you go. Everyone was getting into America there for a while. The Futures of America, Sing Especially For You. And this is actually a St. Louis project of some type. A lot of these were young people's choral group music from the 30s to the 70s. So God Bless America. Got several of these that are actually 4th of July projects here. There is a Happy Birthday to America. And a song saluting our 2200th birthday, of course. So I don't know what this one, but someone bought it at Kmart for $1.99, and I probably paid less for that somewhere. And this will make you feel real old. This was a album put out in 1964 to commemorate 20 years after D-Day, which we're way past 20 years now. So commemorate documented recordings and photographic album. So it's an interesting artifact. And Little Wally, who, if you know your polkas, he's a polka artist, all right. And none of the songs on here have anything to do with America. But by gosh, they're American polkas to him. Let's see. Oh, How She Lied Polka. There's one really good title there Cindy enjoyed. My Wife Got Drunk Polka. Have to put that on a collection somewhere for everyone. And then some preachers have been around a while. There's from 1976, Pat Robertson reminding us it's time to pray, America. Let's see. A children's record of songs of the Civil War. Wonder Records cranked out a lot of children's records. Whoop, that one went flying. Here's the original soundtrack to Making of American President. And actually, because I went to school for television production, I had a professor that was a big deal that you need to read this book. It's, things have changed a lot, but it was a lot to do with Kennedy and the debates he had with Nixon and how they really figured out how to use the media and TV to win the election. All right. The commercial appeal of Sounds of America. It's an interesting thing. It's got well-known dialogues from the Revolution, read by Ed Begley Sr., not the Junior, Melvin Douglas, and Vincent Price, and Carl Sandburg. And this gentleman, Land That I Love, as Rex Humbard, TV Ministers, in Akron, Ohio. God bless America. What can I do for my country? And this is my country. Very 70s suit going on there. Yeah, that one. Another bicentennial album, Mana. The Story of Mana presents a musical celebration of the bicentennial with the brass band. Got a lot of pictures of Mana equipment on the back. The Little Golden Theater doing the Young Abe Lincoln. And this might have been something that was like presented at the Abe Lincoln Theater, but I'm not positive. Oh, a story of a Broadway hit. I missed that Broadway hit. Probably before my time. Here's an album of radio spots. The Sonic Boom. So they're radio commercials for the Air Force from probably around 1970. Another local, Townsend Elementary School, doing their 4th of July project. So if you knew anyone that went to Townsend Elementary in 1976, got their collectible album. The Living Constitution of the United States, another children's album with readings of the Constitution. Star Spangled Rhythm. This is an old radio broadcast from World War II, so it's got Bob Hope, a lot of those artists. Again, Sandy Hook Records was a big old radio show reproducer, or reissue. Vinyl's fighting me a little bit here. There we go. Came to America. This was actually, I believe it was to help raise money to restore the Statue of Liberty in the 80s. And about the immigrant story. There's a Jerry Falwell album from the 70s. How much he loves America, and he's not afraid to tell you. Senator Everett Dickerson, McKinley Dickerson, tells stories of America He actually made a Christmas album too. Gallant Gentleman. Story of the Mayflower, story of the Independence. Gord, of course, is all told from the perspective of an old white guy. And he was old in the 70s. And here is Abraham Lincoln Log Cabin Years. There we go. Oh, turn it over. It's printed weirdly. There we go. Log Cabin Years. Flo Price, The Story from the Treehouse. I like the sound of America. Kind of brings tears to your eyes, doesn't it? American Patriotic Marching Songs, another children's album. Apparently there's quite a market for being American. I Love America. Sing Chord, which I think is another small gospel label from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Got some fine 70s dew going on there as well. This is a big old Reader's Digest 4-album set. God Bless America, All-Star Country Tribute. Your standard America the Beautiful, pretty much similar to some of the other collections we saw on CD. The Newcastle Trio Americana Grand Prix Series, music to enjoy with the whole family. This was the memorial album after the death of John F. Kennedy. You see this a lot, and it sold really well at the time. Lawrence Welk, To America with Love, because he loves America. Couple we're saving till the end here. American Ideal. I don't know what the American... Oh, another bicentennial collection. Got, actually has a lot of a lot of things. I'll have to read up on this. This was another odd, there were several odd bicentennial projects that went on at that time. I think some were, they were supposed to air it weekly, actually. And this, I've got 2 of them, but it's pretty cool. I live here in Overland. There's the Overland Bicentennial album, Community Choir. Probably if I researched a little bit, there's several people from the area still around here that we could chat with. Have to do some guests on the show. The Philadelphia Treasury of Stars. I believe this was another bicentennial. Like I said, they were cranking things out in the bicentennial. I remember doing a lot of, I was even in a parade on the bicentennial. Right up the street from me, Oscar Brand, who's a folk historian, cranking out some American songs. The People's Choice. This is an interesting one. It's kind of a audio teaching you about voting, and it's sponsored by 2 sleeping tablet companies, which I thought was odd. And Bud Greenspan, that's a double album covering the actual voices of World War II. Classic comedy album, Pat Paulson. Many of you will remember from Laugh-In. Ran for president every year. I think almost up until he passed away. But he actually made an album out of his president's campaigns. Victory at Sea. This is on TV all the time. Getting to some classics. There's Sergeant Barry Settler. One Man Ballad of the Green Berets. And he had enough success with the first one, he was able to crank out another album. G.I. Joe's Battle of the Bulge story album for children. The Sounds of History. Several of these albums I've noticed were put out by oil companies. It was like you get a full tank of gas, you get an album. But this was mostly World War I recording or stories there. Our Country 'Tis of Thee, Happy Birthday America, and Happy Birthday Americans as opposed to Americants. Eugene Normandy's America. That's a nice classical album. It's got some good stuff on there. Yeah. Missouri's tribute to the bicentennial. So there's the statewide album tribute to the bicentennial. And then, let's see, we're getting near the end here. So, Charlie Mack, all-time. This is a local St. Louis deal. He felt he needed to record his all-time favorite American songs. There's Mr. Mack right there, his story. I think he was working, says he was working somewhere and someone heard him sing and decided he should record an album. So a fellow friend who runs a Christmas and Halloween blog posted her picture at the Freedom Train. This train ran through the U.S. during the bicentennial, and it stopped in towns and you could tour through it. I understand had a lot of artifacts, but this was the souvenir album you could buy in quad, and I bought this sealed copy at Goodwill. I was pretty excited about this. This is a very odd album. Orson Welles, apparently not a fan of Richard Nixon, wrote this whole story album and put it out himself. It was kind of a putting Nixon on trial himself. So that was kind of a weird album there, but I've seen it floating around. And then this was obviously another one poking fun at those damn hippies. America the Beautiful, let's keep it that way. And it's got a lot of good Americans performing on here, a lot of country artists, pop artists. You won't see none of them hippie rock artists on here. And then two of my favorite albums here. First one is, and it's a beat up copy I got from the library. I'm always looking for a newer one. Eddie Albert sings and narrates Americana. So when you think singing about America, you think Eddie Albert. And he goes at it on these. I have listened to some of it from time to time. Here's an. Oh, we'll do this before we finish up there. There is John and Max, as in John Ashcroft, our own legislator, and then he went on to Attorney General, I believe. And David Letterman used to poke fun of him because his singing's not the best, but by gosh, he was committed to making a couple albums. That's his more American album right there. So good to know that John Ashcroft was cranking out albums. And then the final one, Burgess Meredith, How the West Was Won. Because he's known for his singing voice, as I remember. So he's doing all kinds of America songs of the West. But that pretty much covers it. Like I said, I've made a couple compilations over the years. That's what's been kind of playing in the background a little bit. hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope everyone has a wonderful 4th of July. Don't forget to be a good American. If you're using fireworks, stay safe out there. Either way, continue social distancing. Wear your damn mask so we can get through this. But it's always a pleasure talking to you. If you guys have things you'd like me to go over, I think next couple of weeks I'm going to do some Christmas stuff because it's Christmas in July. But stay safe out there. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Take care.